Silas says, for his current fairy tale series, I've got Snow White and have ordered Jack and the Fallen Giants. Why did he choose the stories he has for the series, and what are the threads that connect the stories?
Haha. Yeah, so this is something we didn't mention. So one of the things I wanted to do is I wanted to integrate some aspect of postmodern storytelling into the stories. Sounds weird, but
what does that mean? What does that mean? Aspect of postmodern?
So one of the aspects of postmodern storytelling is collage, right? So one of the things people do is you see it, like Shrek is a good example, where basically you take all the fairy tales, you mash them together.
Yeah.
You saw that there was Into the Woods did that, and there was a series called Once Upon a Time that Disney did for adults. So what they do is they take all the fairy tales, they mash them together, and they try to do that in a way that is mature, right? In the sense that they tried to be, how can I say this? They tried to be adult about it, but usually what they mean by adult is just become really cynical and kind of dirty jokes and exposing power dynamics and, this really postmodern trope. That's what you see in Into the Woods, for example. It's like this dark version of storytales of them all crashing together. It's all about, adultery and cheating on each other. And it's all this kind of, and Shrek is full of
potty humor.
kind of dirty humor, even sex jokes like that are kind of on top of the potty humor. And so what we thought is couldn't we create a fairy tale mashup where we have all the characters kind of symphonically interact with each other, but instead of doing it to create just dirty, whatever cynical take, we could actually help the adult reading it get insight about what these stories are about. And so the stories will bleed into each other as we move forward. And so we started with Snow White, then we have Jack and the Beanstalk. We're going to have Rapunzel, and then the Valiant Little Tailor. So we have two threads. One is like a girl thread and a boy thread.
Okay.
And then the characters will cross over. So a simple example is that, the witch in Snow White becomes, the queen in Snow White becomes the witch in Rapunzel. And so trying to show how they're the two opposites that I said. So the witch throws the queen throws the girl out, and then she kind of falls, and then now she wants to protect her and completely control her. And so then these characters will have arcs as it moves through. And so the stories were chosen in a way that they were the most memorable fairy tales, the ones that most people know about. And then ultimately for me to be able to string them together so that by the time you get at the end, all the characters will kind of come together and there'll be this symphonic ending. The last book is Cinderella. So.
Have you wanted to do this for a long time?
Oh yeah. This is something, I've loved fairy tales for a very long time.
How come it's happening now?
Well, it's happening now because I'd written this version of Snow White for my kids, when we were homeschooling, and I'd written it as a play because I wanted my kids to put it together. And they didn't want to do it because they were too young and they're kind of shy because my son was gonna wake up Snow White and kiss her, and they were like, "Yeah, we can't do it. It's they were too young. For them, it was cringe. It was too icky and whatever. And so okay, whatever. We won't have to. But I had the play, and then when Disney, I found out around 2020, I think, or maybe before, that Disney was going to put out a version of Snow White for their centennial, and I knew they couldn't. I knew. I was like, they can't make this story. There's no way. They can't have the prince kiss Snow White, wake her up. They can't have the dwarves. There's all these things about the story that they cannot do because they're so ideologically possessed and they don't understand the stories anymore. So I thought, what an opportunity to do it now, because basically the guardians of these fairy tales have decided that they don't want them anymore. So it's you know what? Yeah, we'll take them. Yeah, we'll take them, and then we'll make them into something powerful and beautiful. And so that was the impetus in some ways, was to kind of to in this moment when the big players are dropping these stories, to say that we're going to pick up the pearls and we're going to make a beautiful necklace out of it. So
beautiful. G'day, fellas. For over a decade, I've spoken to men around the world about the battles we face: temptation, apathy, anger, and the struggle to find meaning. Now, let me tell you, one of the most powerful tools I've seen for breaking free and growing closer to Jesus Christ is Exodus 90. The Exodus 90 Challenge begins this year on January 20th, but this isn't just a 90-day program. Exodus 90 is a spirituality for men in modern times built on three ancient pillars: prayer, self-sacrifice, and fraternity. We all long for something more, and that something is to be found in becoming the men that God created us to be, sons of a loving Father. It's time to turn away from our idols. It's time to break free from the pharaohs that hold us in bondage. If you're ready to make a fresh start and embark on a journey to uncommon freedom in Jesus Christ, then download the Exodus 90 app today. This is your chance to break free, refocus, and rediscover who God is calling you to be in the new year. We start January 20, 2025. So go to exodus90.com/Matt to learn more about Exodus 90. That's exodus90.com/Matt to join tens of thousands of men from all around the world for Exodus 90 starting Monday, January 20th.